We got home buyers are calling off deals at a record pace. 15.1% of home purchases were canceled in August. Chunky,
I see something that was only for the
Chunky, can you
screen,
scroll?
but it's not. Okay. All right.
So about 15% of in other words, people put the properties under contract and then they back out, usually because more often than not, the repairs come back. It needs a roof or this or that. And oftentimes the sellers are just like, no, I'm not paying for that. And so the buyer backs out and then the deal falls through. So you get an unusually high number of purchases. It's the highest it's been. You scroll down. Fill out a contract. So you can see going back to like 2017. So it's the highest number of people canceling their contracts. I think the biggest one is the inspections. They come back and it needs repairs, and then the seller doesn't want to do the repairs. They think they can find somebody else to buy it. And then it sits. Or they end up selling it for less than the original contract.
Next one.
Next slide. So this is interesting. Amazon is laying off 14,000 corporate workers as it invests more in AI. The layoffs are expected to be the largest corporate job cuts in Amazon history. I think they already laid off something like 18,000 this year. And their goal, the Amazon executives are saying that their goal is to get to the point where 75% of the in other words, they want to replace like 75% of their workers, people that work in the warehouses, with robots. So that's what they're working towards. Because if you got robots are cheaper and they'll be more efficient, and it'll allow Amazon to drop prices a little bit even more. They tend to do that, which would be good for the consumer. But if you work at Amazon, you're going to get replaced by a robot.
But I feel like every company's doing that now too.
Yeah.
It's like there's massive
Well, like
sales.
McDonald's or California, they're like, hey, we want $20 an hour to work in the fast food industry, which always used to be, for most people, that was an entry level job. That's what I mean. You worked at
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. You did Taco Bell for a while.
No, I never did Taco Bell.
Who did Taco Bell? Did Anna do Taco Bell?
No, she never.
Your cousin did Taco
Someone
Bell.
did Taco.
Somebody did Taco Bell
Yeah.
in the family. Because you guys were thinking about going into the restaurant business. So, but usually it's an entry level job. And like my friends, I worked when I was 18. I worked at this place called Cisco's Chicken. It was like a fast food place with a Mexican type theme. I think they had 4 or 5 locations at the time. They've since gone out of business many decades ago. But it's usually an entry level job. Back then would pay like minimum wage.
Yeah.
And so if you got no experience, you get a job like that. It'd be your first job. You learn how to run a cash register. You learn how to give change, do credit and debit cards, that whole 9 yards, customer service, that kind of thing.
Especially at McDonald's, that's getting replaced by those like automatic order screens.
Yeah, so they put those kiosks in there where you just order. And McDonald's is experimenting with having robots make the hamburgers and everything else.
I went to Popeyes like a week ago, and at the drive-through they had it was not the person, it was an AI talking to you the whole time.
No
It
shit.
was completely replaced. It was just a robot. I was like, oh. Didn't like it was really annoying. It was really like just because I think the Popeyes is pretty known for having very shitty customer service and the thing. So I
Yeah.
guess they're like, fuck it, we'll just replace it.
Yeah, I don't eat fried food, so
Yeah.
I would
No, I didn't
never
eat-
go there.
Just went there and then left though. He didn't end up getting food. My dad was at Popeyes, but his thing wasn't working, so he just left.
Oh yeah.
That was my first time going to Popeyes, I think, in like 2 years. We didn't get anything though, which is good. It was after the Panthers game. Hello, Garrett and Roy. What? Roy.
Well, at the end of the day, people are getting replaced by robots, ChatGPT.
But I feel like they're going to replace not because it's smarter than them, just it's more controllable than them, and it's cheaper.
Well, in any business, the biggest expense is always payroll. I mean, like my biggest expense is payroll. It was when I was in real estate, it's the same thing. And your competition's going to be using robots and AI and stuff. So if you keep paying workers and they're not as efficient as a robot or AI, or they're more expensive, well, it makes it harder and harder to to stay competitive. So here's, this is according to Redfin. This is why, if you can enlarge that,
Yeah.
why people are backing out. So the home inspection is the number one. What is that? 70%? 70.4?
70.4, yeah. And the next one's 27.8.
27.8. Buyers financing fell through.
21% buyer
Buyer
unable.
unable to sell current home. So that if they are unable to sell their current home, what they did was they did a contract that was contingent upon them selling their home. And obviously they were unable to sell, so they had to back out. 14%, almost 15, 14.9. Change in buyer's financial situation. Usually they lose their job, or sometimes what happened is we used to always tell people, it's like, until we close, don't charge any on your credit cards, don't buy a car, don't buy anything else, because it will show up on your credit report and it'll screw up your debt to income. And occasionally, maybe one out of 100 deals, the person wouldn't listen and they would go buy a car or max out a credit card, and then when you look at their minimum payment, now they don't ratio.
Yeah, that's crazy to buy a car right when you're buying a house.
Some people are just stupid, they wouldn't listen. And so, but that just shows that the sellers are unreasonable, because especially with the homeowners insurance, a lot of insurance companies have the attitude, if your roof doesn't have at least 10 years or more of life left on it, they want it replaced. And the seller might be like, I replaced that 10, 12 years ago. I'm not going to replace the roof again. And so that, because they can't get homeowners insurance on it, because the new policy, they won't write it unless it has a brand new roof. And so the sellers are backing out thinking, oh, well, somebody else will buy it. So that's pretty high. That's really high for home inspections. Just a high amount of people backing out. Low appraisal, about 8%, 7.9. Insurance issues, too expensive. In other words, they bought the house, and then when they get their insurance, what the insurance payment would be, it's either too expensive or they couldn't get covered. That was 7%. High mortgage rates, 6.5%.
Joe Penny says he wants to be a landlord. Pros and cons.
Well, if you do a good job of screening your tenant, it can be awesome, because they're going to pay your mortgage payment and all your expenses. They'll basically pay for the property for you. However, if you get some ratchet ass human in there who destroys your property and doesn't pay, it'll make your life a living hell. So if you don't know how to properly screen your tenants, you should get a good property management company that knows how to do that, because all it takes is, it's like you're hiring somebody for a job of caretaking your property. And all too often, people will stick somebody in there that they really shouldn't. And not only does the person not pay, but they fucking destroy the property in the process. And so in order to rent it again to the next tenant, then you got to put tens of thousands of dollars just to fix the damage that the previous tenant caused. So the most important thing about being a landlord is you got to make sure you put good tenants in there. Because having to go through the eviction process, or worse, you get somebody in there that just destroys your property, it'll be a nightmare. So you have to have a passion for real estate. You have to have a passion for rental properties, and you got to know what you're doing. Because if you do a bad job of, in other words, if you don't vet your tenants properly, they will fuck your life up. They will fuck your investment up. Just like with women, if you don't vet the women in your life properly, they will make your life fucking hell. You guys been following me for a while? It's like always the biggest problems are the dudes that are dating chicks that come from broken homes. And they're trying to fix her with the book, or they're giving her the benefit of the doubt, but they ignored all the red flags because she was hot, she was fun, she was great in bed, whatever it happens to be. It really fucking matters. You gotta vet other human beings. There are people in this world that are not very good, that are dishonest, that will do bad things to you if they could get away with it.